like, I think 2018. Oh no. Ruby spotted something. What's up guys, it's Maharani here with my first ever vlog on this channel. I'm going to be doing a little get ready with me and a chai and a chat. And I asked you guys to send me some questions on Insta, which I'm going to go through today. And I also thought, what better way to start off my cinnamon and spice channel than to show you guys my personal chai recipe. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with boiling the milk and the water on the hob. Because I'm just making tea for myself, I'm going to get my mug and I'm going to measure it with half water, half milk. I only want about like maybe this much tea, like half a cup of tea, because it's quite a big mug. But I'm going to do half of it milk, water, but maybe a little bit more milk because it does cook off. That's how much water I've added. And then I'm going to add a bit of milk. Okay, then you're going to want to boil the milk. If you say anything about my kitchen, that just shows me that you don't know what a brown mom's kitchen looks like. Or the kitchen of someone who cooks. Add a bit of tea. So I really like the cardamom flavor, so I like to crush 2 or 3 cardamom pods. In my cardamom pods, and now I'm just gonna add some ginger. You can crush it up as well, but the taste does come out if you just put the pieces in. And lastly, I add a clove, and I just let it boil on a kind of lowish heat until the milk starts rising and basically the tea starts forming the color that you want. Okay, so once the tea is boiled, I'm basically going to get my cup. So I like to put my sugar straight in the cup because it gets my proportions right in case I make too much. I like to be generous with my sugar because the way I see it is like either I drink my tea the way it's meant to be drunk with milk and sugar, or I just don't drink it at all. So I'm not going to lie, normally I'm quite lazy about this, but since I'm showing you guys the proper recipe, get another cup and pour into it. Beware if it's hot and you're using a steel cup, you're gonna feel it, like it's gonna be very hot to touch and difficult to hold. And then just do a little bit of artifying. And I mean, look how gorgeous that looks. That looks really good. And there you go. That is actually how you make chai. I mean, loads of people do it differently, but this is my authentic chai recipe. So I've got my chai and I'm ready to get started with my makeup. I'm going to do my brows first, and I'm going to be using this Revolution. It's like a brow gel basically, but it's like black. It's kind of like a mascara, but I really like it because I find it easier to build up something that looks more like natural because it kind of builds on your eyebrow hairs. I also asked you guys to tell me like what kind of stuff you want to see on my channel. So if you could drop down in the comments below if there's any type of content that you specifically want to see from me. You know, I want to provide value, so whatever it is that you think that I can offer, or I can get, you know, guest speakers to come on as well to talk about certain things, to give advice on certain things, talk about their experience with certain things. I'm more than happy to like arrange that. And just have like this cute little like big sister, big brother community where, you know, you can just go to find advice about things without feeling alone or isolated, especially if you're like navigating new areas. I just want to make it easier for younger people to be like younger South Asian people to be able to do that. So that's kind of the whole vibe behind cinnamon and spice. Okay, so I'm just gonna take off a little bit of it because I feel like it's just a little bit too dark. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the first question that someone asked me was, when did you know you wanted to make music? You're so talented. Firstly, thank you so much. So yeah, honestly, I feel like I've always wanted to make music since I was like a kid, but I never really thought it was a real genuine possibility until like I think a few years ago. I mean, like, I think 2018. Oh no. Ruby spotted something. Who'd you spot? False alarm. like actually recording and releasing music and stuff was like, so in 2018, around the time that I met Kay, and honestly, like, he convinced me. He was just like, there's no reason why we can't make that kind of music. Yeah, and I feel like he instilled like a lot of confidence in me. Also, I use this Maybelline, it's number 10, and it's slightly too dark, but I use it to color correct, and it does like an amazing job. I also feel like, you know, so much has changed in the time that I've grown up, because in the last like 10 years, the way that technology has just, you know, exponentially developed, and just anyone can make music now. Like, you can watch tutorials. I mean, obviously there is an accessibility barrier in terms of like being able to afford equipment, but I feel like with very basic equipment, like, you know, all you need is just like an iPhone or an iPad or something like that, and you can get access to GarageBand. It's easier for people to get into making music. Like, you don't need like a famous producer, you don't need like a record label necessarily to help you to start making music. It's also become more competitive because you've got that many more people to now compete with. So yeah, there's pros and cons to it. Okay, and then I use this, I think it's number 8, to like bring the shade back up to normal. Okay, now the second question I got was, do you have any advice for aspiring musicians? P.S. I love your voice and musical style. Thank you so much. In terms of advice, I feel like there are so many things that I wish I knew when I started out. So I would gladly share them with you guys. But like, one of those things is, I wish that I knew that I don't have to do everything by myself. So there's not enough female producers. So if you wanna get into producing, like, you seriously enjoy it and you want to get into it, by all means do it. But if it just seems like overwhelming to you, if you're only doing it because you're like stuck as to like how to start making music and like putting it out there, and you don't have any access to producers, don't be afraid to just wait, take your time, save up money. It doesn't even have to be that much. You can literally lease beats for like $30. You can go on YouTube and type any type of beat that you like, or like find out from friends recommendations for producers and engineers and things that are good, and just save up some money. Like, whether it's like £60, £80, save up some money to go to a studio, even if it's only for like 2 hours, and just go and do that, because you'll be saving your effort trying to do all these millions of things and basically spreading yourself super thin, and you'll be able to focus on yourself as a singer-songwriter, as a vocalist, as an artist. Like, especially if you're just starting out, you still need to grow yourself, and it really depends on what your priorities are. If that's what you want to do, like, you want to be a producer, you want to also be a vocalist, you want to be an instrumentalist, you want to do all those things, do it. But if your focus is singing and songwriting, if your focus is just being a vocalist, keep that in mind, that your effort is limited. Like, you have limited time and energy to give to these things. So where do you want to see yourself in a couple years time? So that's the second bit of advice that I'd have, is be organized with your goals. Like, get a journal or something like that, and literally just, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can literally just write down in bullet point form, like, where do you want to see yourself? What kind of goals are you trying to reach? Try and make them like measurable, like achievable goals. And it will help you help you stay focused. Like, I'm starting to do that now, and it's a lot easier to see myself and see the progress that I'm making and keep track of it. It's also satisfying to see yourself reach those goals. So yeah, that's my advice for aspiring musicians. Okay, so I recently got this new translucent powder, and I'm really hoping it doesn't leave like a white cast. Okay, so far so good. So someone asked me, who are your muses? I think growing up, one of my like biggest inspirations was Taylor Swift, and I will always be a Swiftie at heart, because she was like the person who inspired me that I could make music by myself with just my guitar. The storytelling power that woman has is just insane. Like, it's so, unique and iconic. And to this day, like, if I ever get the chance to collab with someone, I would love to collab with Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, if you're watching this, I want to collab with you. The other person that I also love, just in terms of like vibe, and I think a lot of people already know this, is Janae Aiko. I just think as an artist, the kind of energy that she brings through with her music is something that I've really resonated with. I think she has a gorgeous voice, but also just her artistry is just so like, it's so unique to her. It's got like such a like trademark style to it. Because I love the energy that she brings to her music, I've always had that kind of there in the back of my mind that I want to also like evoke like similar feelings, whilst obviously not being, you know, like a carbon copy. But if anyone ever listens to my music and thinks she reminds me of Janae, am I gonna be upset about that? No. So yeah, I love Janae, I love Taylor Swift. I also love like when it comes to R&B, I'm obsessed with Tank. Like, I love Tank. Like, that man has just so much emotion in his voice. So this is actually a new eyeliner that I'm trying. I don't ever normally use the gel ones. I actually always use liquid. So someone asked me, firstly, where did your passion for music come and how were you introduced to Indian classical? So I feel like my passion for music like genuinely must have come from my parents and my mum, especially because my mum's like, she's a really good singer, but she's never like really formally trained until like later in her life. So when I was around almost like 8 years ago, my mum started learning. That was something that she'd always wanted to do, that she like sort of, you know, took up in her later life, which is really cool. Like, I'm very happy that she did that. But growing up, my parents were like the biggest fans of music. I remember having like, you know, like those like stacks of like cassettes, and later on then CDs as well. Like, I remember all of that stuff. We had a bunch of those. My parents are big fans of Carnatic music. They also love, like, my mum really loves Hindustani music, but also like cinema music. Like, my parents love cinema music, old school Bollywood cinema music. We kind of were put into, like, me and my sister were put into music classes from a young age, but it was like on and off because our teachers were kind of like, you know, we moved around, our teachers moved around, and then when we came to England as well, there just wasn't any consistency from our side as well until I went to Boven. Me and my sister went to Boven. So Sivis like the auntie was the teacher who taught me for like a majority of the time. She taught me Veena, she taught me vocal, and she was amazing. Like, she's very passionate herself. I feel like when someone is that passionate about music, like, it really inspires you. And also, I was like into dance, so because I was into dance, like, I feel like it made it a lot easier to appreciate music, the music that like went into it. And like, I feel like everyone had this, but I hated it at the start because there's a lot of discipline. Like, there's so much discipline. It makes it a little bit hard to enjoy it at the start because you're doing like really basic stuff and you're doing it over and over again, and it's kind of hammered home. But those are like your foundations, and those foundations, when they're really strong, gives you such a strong kind of base to build off. Even if you go off and sing any other style of music, like if you've trained in classical dance, if you've trained in classical Indian vocals, like, your shruti will be so good, like your pitch will be amazing, and you're just sort of tuned to like listen to those kind of things a lot more. So yeah, I'm very grateful for my teachers, very grateful for my parents for putting me in those classes, even though I was very resistant to them at the start. Okay, so my makeup look is kind of more or less like, we're nearly finished. I'm just gonna do I'm not going to do too much on the lips because I have very dry lips at the moment, so I'm just going to put some clear gloss on. So I already had some lip balm on, so I just added some gloss to that. And there we go, that's the final look.